Welcome back to another edition of In the Hot Seat here on the Podium Finish and the Podium Finish Live. Rob Tiongson here, and on this edition, I'm pleased to be joined by driver of the number 5 HendrickCars.com Chevrolet Camaro ZL1, driven by Kyle Larson. Kyle, as you know, folks, he's in the round of 12 and he's vying for his second NASCAR Cup Series championship. So before we get started, Kyle, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Just ready to get the round of 12 started, and you're hoping for a solid round like we had in round one.
Yeah, round one was certainly pristine as can be. I mean, you had an average finish of 2.33. And when your worst finish is fourth, you're like, man, I can just repeat that 3 more times and we'll get a second championship, right?
No, I mean, it's I think we all understand the playoffs are tough, and it changes week by week. So obviously good runs help the confidence and momentum, but it's a new round, a new set of racetracks, and new challenges up ahead. But I feel good about this round. Starting off at Texas, a track that we've won at in the past. We were fast there last year. Just had some hiccups along the way, but and then Talladega, that's obviously a sketchy one, but anybody can go there and feel like they have a shot to win. And then the Roval is a place that I feel like we've ran well at. So just gotta keep executing and trying our best to stay up front.
Yeah, certainly, because the round of 12 offers a little bit of everything, unlike the round of 16, which was the Southeast tour with Kansas mixed in. And now all of a sudden you have everything you can conceive of in terms of challenges and kind of touched upon that. I mean, Texas this weekend, it's not your ordinary intermediate like a Las Vegas or Homestead or Kansas. What makes Texas such a challenging track for drivers like yourself?
Well, I think when you look at the weather, it's supposed to be pretty hot, in the 90s. So the track should be a little slicker than normal. And it's a place that you run, a lot of throttle at. So, maybe we'll be, slipping and sliding a little bit more. It is a difficult place to pass, but yeah, we'll see. It's just, it's interesting. You come off turn two and you try and hold it wide open through 3 and 4 and carry a lot of speed down the front stretch, but you're on edge doing it. So trying to get the balance right, especially the temperatures being hot, is a challenge on the crew chiefs. But it should be a good place for us. Like I said, we have ran well there in the past, so excited to get there.
How much of a difference will this year's race be, knowing that it's 100 less miles? Because obviously in the past, it's been one of the few 500-mile races we have on the schedule.
Yeah, I think honestly, I don't know if much changes other than, you have a little less time to get back to the front if you make a mistake. So I think that makes, not making a mistake even more important. But 400 miles is still a long time. 500 miles felt like forever. So I'm glad that they shortened it some. But yeah, it does put a little bit more emphasis on executing.
Certainly, because this is one of the more trickier tracks, and the hot weather is just enough to deal with, and try to get the setup right as well. And you touched upon the challenging conditions that Mother Nature is going to provide. And I know you're one of the more fit drivers in the Cup Series. How important is physical fitness for you to not fall out of the seat and be able to hold on as tight as you can for all you can in these races?
Yeah, I think it's definitely important. I think really the biggest thing is just hydrating throughout the week and in the morning of the race, stuff like that. It's hot outside. Obviously, these cars aren't like, you don't need big muscles and stuff to race them, but I just think dealing with the hot temperatures is the most important piece. The next gen cars are really hot, but we're fortunate enough these days to have cool suits that help us out quite a bit. So our fireproof underwear is full of these basically water lines that plugs into a cool unit and pumps cool fluid through the suit, and does a great job of cooling your core temp down. So if that wasn't working, it would be very, very tough on the body. But yeah, Hendrick Motorsports supplies us with the best comfort for the race cars, and definitely makes the job a little easier.
I've seen that. Like, it's that black tube that comes out of your uniform. It almost looks like a space thing from science fiction. But how much would you say it cools you down as opposed to if you didn't have that at all.
It's a lot. Yeah, there's some weeks, when I don't think the temperature is too hot that I will not wear it during practice. And it's just a 20-minute practice, but by the end of it, I'm sweating more than I am after a 500-mile race. So, that's only 20 minutes. The car probably isn't even up to full temperature by that point. But yeah, so I mean, you've seen drivers who wear it and maybe their system fails and doesn't work, and those guys are cooked at the end of the race, passing out and stuff. So knock on wood, hopefully I don't run into that issue ever, but it's definitely a lifesaver for sure. It's something that when in the beginning, there was two systems. One is a much lighter system but doesn't work as well, where I run the big unit because it just works so good that I feel like I need it.
And I'm sure folks who are athletes or those who like to work out, you know how much water weight you lose and the sweat you get from just being out there for what, 2 4 hours of intense activity. So for anybody else out there who thinks race car drivers are not athletes, Kyle Larson's a proof that, yeah, you need that cool suit, because if you don't, man, that's a challenge, and it's bad enough as it is. So it's good that you have that innovation around, to say the least. And I do want to talk about the playoffs just a little bit, because of the fact that, last year your emphasis was to defend the championship. This year you're saying I want to minimize mistakes, and you have. So I mean, what makes this particular round something that you're saying, oh, I got to do a good job, because the round 16 we killed it. Round 8 we could do a good job, and we know what we can do at Phoenix.
Yeah, no, I think just for me and for whatever reason in the next gen era, it's just been a lot of inconsistency. You know, this is the first time in the next gen era that I've had three top fives in a row. It might even be the first time I've had three top tens in a row. So um, just I've been a bit inconsistent. So just I've tried to, I mean, I try every week to finish as good as possible, but sometimes I think I try a little too hard and make mistakes or put myself in areas to get caught up in other people's mistakes, where just trying to limit all that stuff here in the playoffs. And so far we've done a good job of that. But this round, I think for sure is the one where it's probably a little harder to maybe be consistent just based on the tracks that are in it. Texas, there's a lot of strategy that goes on. So catching all that right. Obviously Talladega, you're trying to avoid a crash is difficult. And then the Roval, as well, is kind of a wild card. So but if you can have a good run at Texas, I think, we're 12, I think, above the cut line now. So if we could gain another, 16 or so on the cut line going into Talladega, that doesn't necessarily give you a ton of comfort, but you can afford a little bit of a mistake or a difficult finish and still hopefully be okay for the Roval, but or at least you feel like you're not in a must-win situation anyways. So we'll see. It's just that's why the playoffs are exciting. I think there's just so much unknown that can happen in any of these races.
And it's perhaps the most unique postseason in any sport, because it's not like you're the home team, you get like 4 games and the other team gets 3 at their home court. There is literally a road game, except for Charlotte, for most teams. So that's what makes this so exciting. And the fact that you're racing against those who are not even in the playoffs as well. And but the playoffs this year, I would say, is really interesting because there's a good mix of different teams and organizations. I mean, how has the next gen car been able to create this parity within the field?
Yeah, it's definitely created parity. Yeah, I feel like for the most part, everybody's setups are fairly similar. I think Gibbs and Hendrick, we've kind of been the two teams maybe above everybody else this year, anyways. But then you have teams like JTG and Front Row who have done a really good job this year, and I think that would have been just way more difficult with the old car. I think it took a lot more resources and engineering to be competitive in that car than it does with this one. So no, it's been good for the sport to see other faces up front, other drivers and teams battling for wins, teams with smaller budgets being able to compete at a high level. So that part of it's really good, for sure. So yeah, it's been fun, and it all just kind of seems normal at this point.
It's a nice change for sure, but like you said, like Hendrick and Gibbs, these are the top two teams, and of course RFK Racing's been in the mix as well, to make things a little bit spicy this season, to say the least. One thing that's really made this season really interesting is the fact that your victories this year, Kyle, have been at short tracks, except for Darlington, one of the few intermediates that we have left. You know, what does it mean for you to have the success at a track like North Darlington, Martinsville, and then to win the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro and Richmond, some of the toughest tracks in NASCAR?
Yeah, I mean it's really cool, for sure. I haven't typically been a great short track racer in my career, so this year's kind of been odd to be as good as we have been on short tracks. Winning at Martinsville is something I never thought that I would do. And then going to North Wilkesboro, I was a little bit nervous going there just because of my history on short tracks. But then we were really really strong in the race. Richmond is a track that surprisingly I've won at twice in my cup career, but it feels like my worst track or one of. So yeah, having success on the short tracks been weird. But then going to Darlington, it's a place that I always run really well at. Just haven't quite put it all together to win. So thankfully this year we were able to execute a good race and finally check the Southern 500 off of our bucket list. So that was really cool, and to win it, the Southern 500 and at North Wilkesboro in the same year is pretty incredible. And I don't know when the last time drivers been able to do that. So definitely a special year already at this point, but there's still a lot of racing left to try and get some more cool wins.
It's been a great year to say the least, and I can think of the last driver who actually accomplished that feat was Jeff Gordon in 1996. So you're in
Wow.
good company. So to know that
Mhm.
one of your heroes did that, you're now in his company with that. So pretty fun to say the least. And I know a lot of folks consider you as one of their personal heroes, and folks in Las Vegas have a great chance to go and meet you next month. Can you tell us a little bit more about this meet and greet that's happening in Vegas?
Yeah, I believe we're going to Junior Ramen Bar. I can't remember what time or what day. Probably Saturday, I'm guessing. But yeah, Junior has been a great partner of ours, and got really good food too. So I'm looking forward to going there and eating some food, but as well as meeting some race fans. So yeah, maybe you have more information on the actual time, but yeah, I look forward to getting to hang out with some race fans.
Don't worry, folks. I'll get the date and information for Kyle so that you guys can meet him. But it's a good place for sure. And what's some of your favorite menu items from Junior Bar Ramen Bar?
I like the gosh, what is it? It's like the spicy chicken ramen. It's really good. Like I never had ramen before. You know, getting hooked up with Jinya, and I mean just your typical like top ramen in a bag, so that doesn't really count. But like legit ramen, that was the first time I've had it, and I was like, man, this is really good. So I've been missing out, but yeah, they got a lot of other options too besides the ramen. We had the spicy tuna, like little rice, crispy rice cake thing that was really good. They've got all sorts of stuff, so they've got a really big menu. So yeah, I definitely encourage everybody to come out, not only meet me, but try the restaurant, and I know they'll be a fan of that as well.
It's a win-win situation for folks in the Sin City. So next month, folks, check it out. Meet Kyle and has some good food. And I will put the details, of course, in the article version of this podcast interview. But I got a couple more questions before you get ready for Texas. I know race weekend's coming up real soon. I know we talked about this in the past with my previous outlet, but you're known as somebody who loves to run in the high line, and some folks succeed at that, but you are just like super comfortable with it. How do you know the balance between the risk versus reward of running in that high line from a comfort and confidence standpoint?
Well, there with the next gen car, it's much tougher. At least the body is. So to me, there's a little less risk running the wall. Nowadays, it's a little bit easier to run the wall too for whatever reason. The aerodynamics, I think, just pack. It's easier to pack air between the car and the wall and get better grip. Um, so I think that's why you see a lot of people being able to run the wall now at say like Kansas or a track that's got grip where you can run the wall. But I mean, your guy like Reddick or myself can still stand out running up there. So we're just comfortable carrying speed up there, and I don't know. It's just it's been something that clicked with me early on in my career, and I try to use it to my advantage at the few racetracks that you can. So yeah, I mean, it's just an area to stand out above the others, and gain some lap time on them.
And I'm sure the traction up there, because no one really runs that lane, I'm sure that helps a little bit on the mechanical side for you too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just really just getting as close to the wall without hitting it. Can it just you pack air between the wall and the right side of the race car, and that kind of holds you out of the wall, pretty much. So yeah, but you also got to get to the wall at the right spots with the right angle and the right speed, and it's hard to commit sometimes. When you're going 190 and you're telling yourself you got to commit to running 4 inches off the wall or whatever it may be. So yeah, that's where guys like Reddick, myself, like I said, can stand out for sure.
And if folks can see this background, look at this. I mean, this is, you guys are not that far off the wall, and this is not even the closest you guys get to the wall. So it's
I
just
know.
incredible watching what you guys do. It's so razor thin. It's incredible to watch week in and week out, even as a journalist. I know it's got get ready here, but for my last question, kind of a unique one for me to ask you. If you had all the money in the world and the resources to go build a racetrack anywhere around the world for NASCAR and sprint car competition, what kind of track would you build and where would it be?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, for a dirt track, I would build it. I would build a quarter mile, probably high bank, similar to like Peevely, probably around the Nashville area. I think there's a big opportunity for dirt racing to strive in that region, to build events around it. So I'd build a dirt track near Nashville. I don't know where I would put a NASCAR track, but I would probably do something similar to like Bristol. Maybe a little bit bigger than Bristol. But asphalt, I don't know. I don't know if I would do asphalt or concrete. I really like concrete, so maybe I would keep it concrete, but I would probably do something similar to Bristol. Maybe make it a little wider, a little bit more progressive banking. Um, but yeah, I think Bristol's a great track. So I don't know where I would put it though. I don't know, like New Orleans, maybe. I really don't know. It's tough. It's tough to pick a location for a NASCAR track, but size and shape, that's what I would do.
I love that concept already. And I'm sure eventually down the road you'll figure it out. Don't let that be the thing that's stuck in your head in Texas. I would hate for you to be like leading the race and you're like, that Rob guy, what the heck did he ask me that question? So I don't want that to occupy you. But do you have anything else you want to say to the fans of the number 5 team or those of the podium finish who are going to read or listen to your interview with me?
No, just I appreciate the support, and yeah, hopefully we can continue to make the 5 team fans proud of us, and hopefully we can go try and put in some good effort to get a second championship. So thank you, and appreciate the time, and look forward to speaking to you again in the future.